One. Of course, wanted the U.S. job, thought he had it, didn't have it. Now he's coaching Canada and beating the United States 2-1 there in Kansas City. For more, let's welcome in a gentleman who represented the United States at 4 World Cups. Now, Kasey, in your day, the U.S. did not make a habit of losing to Canada. So what are your thoughts there as the Americans go down 2-1?
We also didn't make a habit of trying to overplay out of the back and gift chances to Canada. And then in the end, lucky that it was only 2-1. I mean, it was really interesting because I think the other day on Football Americas, we were talking about kind of what the U.S. needs to do to get themselves back on track. And I said something about winning the fight. Start with the attitude, play with a chip on your shoulder, win the fight first, and then let the talent in your squad come to the forefront. They got beat up by Canada, particularly in that first half. I think they were still at the Kansas City Chiefs game from Thursday night in that first half, and they decided that, hey, you know what? We're at home. We can just cruise. We don't need to actually put any effort out here. And watch how great we are. We can just combine out of the back against a team and a manager that has been winding this game up since its inception.
There didn't seem to be a way back into the match. It was all Canada all the time, especially and particularly in the first half. Now, just as a side note, plenty of seats available in Kansas City. Plenty of seats for people to go and watch the United States men's national team. You would think that this would be the sort of environment that would go and support the United States. Not quite the case. Having said that, disinterested performance from the United States. Lifeless. Going through the motions. And it is typical of a team, for most of these players, that realize and know full well, whether they think about it or not, it's right there. That guy who's making the decisions right now is not the guy. And he won't be the guy. And so therefore, look, the importance of this match is, who knows? It's more important for other players than it is for some. And that's what I saw today. A team that just kind of going through the motions. Slowest. The possession without a real purpose. Turnovers coming out of the back. And turnovers coming out of the back by players that if you were to think about the pool of players available to the United States, all right, who are the center backs that are actually capable of playing the ball out of the back? Not those that pretend that can play the ball out of the back, but those that are capable. Tim Ream would be very high on that list in that he would, part of the reason as to why he's still playing for the United States is because he has that ability to pass the ball. When he's giving the ball away, then the United States have really no hope of playing the ball out of the back, but they continue to do that, and they did that through the midfield as well. Johnny Cardoso loses a ball in a bad area, ends up in a goal, and it happened regularly, especially in the first half, and it wasn't until the subs came in that actually are excited to be there, that is a new experience for them. Look, this is my chance, this is my opportunity, I'm gonna give it a run, and at the very least, a change of pace makes you look better than whoever else was in there, because whoever else was in there wasn't running. When you go in there and you at least run, you kind of look like, okay, this guy's got something. At least that guy that came in the second half, whoever these players were, looked like they care. The guys in the first half, not so much.
There's a lot of, Shaka, like built-in reasons, excuses for the U.S. performance today. Obviously, no manager. A lot of starters weren't with the team. A lot of fans might cling to that. But it's also like a devastatingly poor performance against a regional rival. Should we be focused on what happened, or should we be focused on the reasons why it may have happened?
No, I don't think you're focused on what happened at all. Listen, given the changes that you expect to be made and announced very soon at the head of certainly the coaching department for U.S. men's soccer, listen, I've been there. When you're playing with an interim, and to Ali's point, you know the guy on the sidelines is not going to be making any decisions long term. You're not really that interested in impressing him. And at times it really does feel like you're going through the motions. But again, to Ali's point, when the subs come on, they recognize this is an opportunity for them to at least take a claim, to at least perform in a way that whoever's coming in, as they start to assess the squad and their needs going forward, they at least put themselves in the reckoning. No more so than Patrick Schulte. And that, for me, is the perfect example of a player who's given his chance. Patrick Schulte, between the sticks, did exactly what was asked of him. He could ask no more and stake a claim. Stake a claim for a position that, as talented a goalkeeper as Matt Turner is, I question the decision to go to England more, certainly to Arsenal when he did, and his performances since. That position is up for grabs.
I don't want to speak for Kasey here, but in that position in particular, the goalkeeping position for the United States, we used to talk about, is Kasey Keller or Brad Friedel going to play, right? That was a conversation. Guys who are starting in the Premier League and guys who, I mean, look, when they were at their best, I imagine that the small-sided games in training would have been amazing to be a part of because, look, they can make saves from everywhere. That's not quite the case right now.
Right.
See, that's not the conversation we're having here. We're having a conversation about Patrick Schulte coming in, making a bunch of saves, and you kind of go, well, maybe. Maybe, because the other guy, I don't know. That kind of tells you and shows you part of what the picture that is troubling about this team. That position wasn't in question ever before. Now it's very much in question.
To that point, this is history repeating itself really quickly. Zach Steffen made what I thought a odd move to go to City when he did, and all of a sudden this young upstart in Major League Soccer, New England Revolution, comes along. He stakes his claim. Matt Turner then gets the US job. He then makes what I thought was a questionable decision going to Arsenal, and now all of a sudden Patrick Schulte, again, kind of doing to Matt Turner what Matt did to Zach Steffen.
And by the way, for the record, I'm taking Kasey Keller. Kasey Keller.
All day.
Yeah,
I'm taking Kasey
Keller.
Now. I'm taking Kasey right now.
Yes, I'm not taking you, Shaq. I saw you in goal the other day.
Not right now.
Kasey, based on what the guys are saying, what we saw from Patrick Schulte today, and the reality of Matt Turner's kind of club situation, do you feel like we're kind of coming into the end of the Matt Turner era with the national team as the number one, or at least as the lock-in, like lockdown, obvious number one?
Well, I think the reason why Patrick Schulte played today is because Matt Turner hasn't played since January. Those are you take the opportunities that are given to you. It's not like Schulte had such an unbelievable Olympics that you're looking at it and you're going, wow. And then he's been, then he was sold to a team in Europe and is playing, to start the season because they made this big investment. He's playing because nobody else is playing. And then all you can do is take advantage of the opportunity that's given to you. And he did that today very well. But at some stage, he has to take his game to the next level. I agree with everything that Ollie and Shaka were saying. In the end, you need to find regular first-team football. Going to clubs that is going to make that very difficult for you because you're getting a big paycheck, hey, I'm not going to argue with that. Because at the end of the day, when your career's over, your mortgage isn't going to get paid because you played 400 games. Your mortgage is going to get paid because of how much money you made as a pro. But at the end, at some stage, can you balance both? Can you go somewhere where you can have a good salary but also have a good career? And for whatever reason, over the last 5-6 years, when we've had American goalkeepers emerge, they haven't been able to find that balance. And so I think it's going to be very interesting going forward because right now this position is wide open for anybody that can consistently play games and play games well.
You know who already paid that mortgage?
Who's that?
Kasey Keller, baby.
There it is.
That mortgage is paid, baby. That mortgage is paid, son.
Kasey, what do you think Mauricio Pochettino thought watching this game?
Well, I don't. In some ways, Seb, I'm tired of talking about Mauricio Pochettino until something actually happens. For the last 3 weeks, we've been hearing, not from U.S. Soccer, but from sources within U.S. Soccer who have said, guess what? It's happening this week. And then that week goes by, and then next week, sources inside U.S. Soccer, guess what? It's happening. Hey, if it is Mauricio Pochettino, great. If it's not, great. Let's figure out the right person to take this team going forward, and let's wait until we actually know who it's going to be, because I still haven't heard an official report from U.S. Soccer, except for the leaked report saying that something's going to happen this week, and that was 3 weeks ago.
All right, Kasey, you don't want to talk about Mauricio Pochettino. Let's talk about another manager involved in this. That, of course, Jesse Marsch. I'm sure you saw the comments that he had to make about the American players, clamoring for Greg Berhalter, and now asking for something new. I wonder what you thought of the comments, the timing of them right before this game, and kind of how Marsch has handled the dynamic of this rivalry now that after this 2-1 defeat for the United States against Canada seems to be kind of turning a little bit.
Well, I think some of the comments were unnecessary, and I heard you guys talk about it the other day, and rightfully so. But then at some stage, I also think of what the players did and why they put themselves in that situation. I think it would have been a lot easier for the players just to say, you know what, U.S. Soccer is going to make their decision. I'm going to fight every minute I have for whoever the manager is. Because to say that, let's say a player says, well, I don't want Greg, and then they rehire him. Then you're like, oh, I kind of put myself in a bad position there. Or if you say, I really want Greg, and then they fire him, just be neutral, do your job, what you have control of, and go from there. Obviously, Jesse was disappointed that he didn't get the U.S. job, and he hasn't been able to let that go 100%. I think right now, you came into Kansas City, you told everybody you were going to win the game, you won the game, put it to bed. Now just be the best manager you can be for Canada. And try to have a longer run at it than you had for your last couple other jobs.
You think Canada's the best team in CONCACAF right now? After what we saw in Copa America, beating the U.S. here in the States 2-1?
I don't think talent-wise they're the best team in CONCACAF. But what I do think is that they have structure, they have organization, they have teamwork. It is very clear what they want to do on the field and what they want to do offensively and defensively, how they're forcing turnovers, how they're playing out of the midfield, who's defending, and when they get in defending positions, who's covering. You see movements from Canada of a team that is well put together. And that is a credit of Jesse Marsch and credit to these players. And so when you talk about structure, you talk about continuity, Canada's there. You cannot say the same thing about the United States, and most certainly you cannot say the same thing about Mexico. And so if we think of those as the top three teams in CONCACAF, right now we just saw it out on the field. You saw a team that is well organized, well worked in Canada, and the United States is just kind of like 11 guys out there trying to put something together, but there isn't a whole lot of consistency and continuity to the way that they play. So yeah, from that point of view, I don't think that it will remain that way. I think eventually the United States will be where we expect them to be. I don't know about Mexico because the talent level in Mexico, instead of getting better, seems to be getting worse. And they're lacking consistency. And we do not know what Javier Aguirre is going to be with this Mexican national team and with this group of players. But what we do know is that the United States does have a talent level that, under the correct circumstances, should be better than Canada.
To that point, to start with, Kasey was saying that what you expected or what you hoped for from the United States national team was a team to play with attitude, a team to play with a chip on their shoulder. Canada are that team. Despite topping the Hexen World Cup qualifying, despite the World Cup that they had, despite the Copa America that they had, they are still the ones that take the pitch against the US and play with a chip on their shoulder. Now, maybe it's
Oh, you know why, Shaka? Because guys like Seb are asking, are they the best teams in CONCACAF? Well, they are. They are right now.
But to your point, they have this incredible talent in Alphonso Davies. But other than that, not really as much as you would think or you would expect, or certainly pound for pound, as you see with the U.S. men's national team. So they have this incredible talent, and then they have good players who, despite the successes over the last 4 or 5 years, still take the pitch with something to prove. And I think that has an incredible value to it.
And to your point, let's just put a name on this. Just how you talk man for man, pound for pound. A guy like Jacob Schaffelberg, who has been a journeyman in Major League Soccer, he gets on the field, has an impact on the game. And his game is limited to, I'm going to run up and down. I'm going to outwork the guy who I'm running against because I have more speed. I'm going to put myself in dangerous positions. I may not always make the right decision, may not always have the final product, but at the very least, I am making you work. Can you say the same thing about Brendan Aronson today?
No.
And they're playing in similar positions. Can you say that Brendan Aronson actually had an impact on the game? And you would think, by resume, by pedigree, by where they play, Brendan Aronson should be running by people and should be having an impact on the game. Was that happening? No. But that's not only him. It's a lot of players in the United States that are in that category in which you think they're going to give you more, and they don't.